Hey Radiant Lights, Michelle, I'm back with some more tarot talk. Many of you left comments, some of you emailed me about some cards that you want to cover, so I'm going to do that here and just touch upon a little bit of these cards to hopefully to expand your understanding of the cards and what they mean and how they are helping you navigate something in your life. Why does tarot work? It's based on archetypal imagery, energy, but all archetypes are a reflection of a way of experiencing and expressing on the earth, playing in the world. And this is why you could understand yourself. In fact, I use a lot of tarot readings in my self-development and spiritual integration programs. There's one part of the program where we really dive into the tarot as your soul's path, your soul's purpose, what's coming through for you, what is your soul wanting you to manifest, and how can you use the imagery of the tarot. It's in all of our subconscious. It is in the collective unconsciousness of everything and everyone. These archetypes, these symbols, all represent an energetic matrix or an energetic design that manifests in a certain way. And this is why many people resonate so much with tarot. Even in my classes and people that do private work with me, some people have never been involved with the tarot or understand the tarot. Sometimes people are afraid of the tarot. They think it has to do with, something demonic. But no, it's based on archetypal imagery. I mean, if I said to you, the Fool card, what does that represent? What does the Lovers represent? So there's always this mundane meaning, which I talked about in my first tarot talk. You may want to look at that. I talked pretty extensively about the Devil and Capricorn and Seven of Swords. So here I'm just going to answer some questions that people asked, and we're going to start first with the Three of Swords. Okay, and some of you had said you've been seeing this card a lot, and we get that heart. Old-time tarot readers called it heart tried by pain. So one thing to understand is even if a tarot card is, let's say it's a swords, which means it's the air signs, represented by air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, and it's the mental realm, it's still going to affect you in different ways, emotionally, physically, right? It's not just when we see, because a lot of times people will say, well, that's sword, so it's really not happening, or it's just all in your mind. No, heart tried by pain, when you get this card, you definitely are feeling emotionally in pain usually. It's Saturn in Libra. So a lot of times, and that tells you Saturn, there's restriction in Libra, in our goals, our dreams, our desires, our relationships, what's close to our heart, what we really, let's see, here it is here. So there's this kind of despondency. Here it is in the Thoth deck. And my Thoth deck is very old. It's about 30 years old. I ordered a new one finally. I thought I had ordered it already. You can see by the colors that there is this despondency, and it's being felt on the emotional realm. However, all threes correspond to the Empress. One of the ways to move past our pain or to use the energy in an alchemical way, because the tarot is a lot about alchemy, is through expression or creativity, or healing, taking care of the third chakra, right? Opening to receive, being nurturing for ourselves. So when you see this Three of Swords, it could very well be that old pain is coming up, or the potential for it. Now, how you experience it is going to be different for different people. Some people may experience it just more in the mental realm, that it's just this, something that happened in the past, or there could be a little twinge, or there could be a lot of heartache or heartbreak. And so this is why after the Three of Swords is the Four of Swords. There needs to be some healing or some going within, or some type of healthy retreat or withdrawing from the world to address, and maybe to address the mental realm, some beliefs or ideas that are either calling this in Three of Swords in, or to look at things differently. Because sometimes we don't call in the Three of Swords. Sometimes it happens to us. It's a part of our path. It's a part of being human to have our heart tried by pain. So the next question is, what do I do with this energy? How do I nurture or take care of myself, but become more aware of my wounding, my wounds, my past wounds, wounding, mental, emotional. This is also very much going to affect you on the emotional plane. And what do I do proactively? What do I do in an empowered way to help me through this? Now, sometimes people say three-sided relationships, so that Three of Swords can definitely be three-sided relationship. Just FYI, so can Nine of Pentacles. So the deeper meaning on this is it's sorrow, it's despondency, it's sorrow, it's heart tried by pain. So when you get this card, you may be very aware of the pain that you've experienced or gone through in your life. Okay, let's look again at Eight of Cups, and here we have it here, stagnation, indolence. It can be bring a kind of stagnation. Some could say even laziness, because it is success and success abandoned. There's a turning away from something. But the person on the card with the red has realized that they may be walking towards something else. So sometimes when we turn away from something or we leave something, we abandon it, it doesn't mean we're not successful at it or we weren't doing well at it. It could be that it's not as emotionally fulfilling for us. So that's why the Eight of Cups is a very, usually there's been a process of looking at, because it comes after the Seven of Cups, right? Ideals, beliefs, dreams. What do I go for in life? And sometimes at the Eight of Cups, you may come back to something or someone, but in a different way. You're recognizing something isn't as fulfilling, or some situation isn't as fulfilling, or has there been stagnation, or have you been overgiving or overdoing and you're not receiving enough back? So yes, it is leaving something or someone and moving on, but it also very much is moving toward something or someone, okay? There's some water here, so it connotates about the emotions, connecting and emotionally, being emotionally nurtured. But there's also solid ground, so it's saying don't get swept up in emotional situations, swampy emotions that hold you down, or you can't then move forward because instead of understanding your emotions and expressing your emotions, now you're coming from emotionalism. You can't get out of them. They're running you. And even with the staff there, that means there's support, there's help. Maybe it's outside help. Very often at the Eight of Cups, there's some kind of outside influence that's come in that says it's time to move on, or move towards something or someone else that is more stabilizing. You also have the moon here. You have the full moon and the crescent moon. So it connotates cycles, emotional cycles, life cycles. Sometimes it's just time to do something differently or move on, move towards something else that is much more fulfilling on a soul level. And with this red, it's always about the root, what brings more security. Again, mental, emotional, physical security here. And also the material plane. So even though it is cups, it also has to do with some level of security. In other words, if you're all caught up in your emotions and you're making decisions emotionally or reacting emotionally, that's going to affect your stability. And at the Eight of Cups, you start understanding that your emotional state does affect your physical state, meaning the physical body, your physiology, which is part of the physical body, and the material plane. That if you don't get those emotions in alignment, if you're in swampy, stagnant emotions, things aren't moving and you're clinging or holding on, or you can barely function or be productive or focus on life-enhancing things in your life, that's going to affect you mentally, emotionally, and materially. you are going to be affected. So the 8 is also a testing number numerically. It has to do with patterns. So at the 8, similar to 8 of Swords, you're also looking at patterns, but more from an emotional standpoint. And again, this is why success, abandoned. Something may be working or partially working, or it worked in the past. And so it's the wise one that knows when it's time to stay with something and persist, or to move on. Okay, then we've got the 8 of Swords, which I wanted to touch on. The 8 of Swords, a lot of times people feel that it has to do with restriction, that you're restricting yourself because they're blindfolded. It can also be restriction of circumstances, right? We have a lot of restriction right now in the world due to Corona, right? So anytime you see a blindfold on, it's like you're not going to necessarily be able to figure this out with your rational, your reasoning, your logic and reason. You have to use your intuition. And sometimes you're not able to do something in a quote-unquote man-made or mankind way that's symbolized by the hands. Your hands are tied, or your arms. But you still have with these swords, and there's one further out, for an idea. 8 of Swords can be, yes, your circumstances are restricted, but what can you do? How can you think differently? A different idea, a different approach, a different way of thinking, and therefore a different way of acting. And so you see that there's perhaps some of the emotional aspect of the situation is dried up a bit. There's just a little bit of water, and there's land here. So again, it's about balancing the body-mind system, the emotions, and the mental realm and emotional realm. There is something in the background. Okay, there's a city, there's a mountain there, there's a castle. There is some land, but this connotates that something in the environment is a bit restrictive. Circumstances are restricted, or one's mental state has become restricted due to where they came from, due to perhaps the law of the land. I always say 8 of Swords is really, in a way, a call for meditation, or just to be open more to your intuitive guidance, your inner knowing, your body wisdom, your gut knowing, because you can't necessarily figure out what to do. In other words, this is the card that, okay, I can't move forward, and people could say you're holding yourself back, but sometimes, let's say you don't have the funds to do something, to pay all your debt, let's say you have, and you feel restricted. Oh, I can't travel, I can't do this, I can't buy this, I can't do that. But with that acceptance, if you tune within, your higher self will give you a great idea. Okay, the universe, God, the all that is, can have an idea that comes in that either uplifts you and gets you motivated, or is an idea that can help you in your circumstances. So Saturn card, again, we're learning how the 8 of Cups with Saturn and Pisces, we're learning here how not to let restrictions hold us back. That if this is mapping our soul path through the tarot, the wisdom is there's always going to be some level of restriction, and sometimes more restriction in your life or life circumstances. Let's say you're traveling and, your luggage gets lost, and you only have a few clothes, in an overnight bag, or your carry-on bag. And you have to go someplace where you need, a different type of clothing than what you have on you or in your carry-on. That's restriction. Now you could say maybe you should have packed something in your carry-on and not just in your, check-in luggage. Or you can look at what is that restriction and how can I get around it? How can I look at this differently? How can I respond to this differently? So now, if you're getting this card all the time as a repeating pattern, then yes, it could be something that you're calling in. But again, one of the biggest lessons, and we learned that in the Devil, I talked about in the previous video, is Saturnian lessons, how to work with within limitation, with limitation or within limitation, how to work with form. Saturn represents form. So at the mental realm and at the emotional realm, there is going to be form that manifests or is reflected in the pentacles, right? In the disc. That talks about more of the physicality. So at the Eight of Pentacles and the Eight of Cups, you're also cautioned that how you consistently show up in your life mentally and emotionally begins to influence and change your outer circumstances, which brings us to the Tower. I could say Uranus here, Pluto. Tower very rarely, like the Death card, represents death or something completely coming out of nowhere, like the rug being pulled out from under you. It more often has to do with our mental state, sometimes our mental emotional state, but beliefs, things that we have held on to, that the soul, it's like we got to grow out of this. We've got to express experience out of this. We got to create out of this. And this is for the reason that it comes after the devil, after Capricorn, right? There is this, and again, you see the land here, like in the Eight of Swords, you've got the castle. So these are about the rules of the land. Okay, we have the universal laws, right? And law back in, I do believe in the Essene language, law meant Lord meant law. So we had the Lord and Manor, right, in the castle. And that Lord and Manor deemed this mundane law, right? This law of the land. But with the tarot, you begin to understand that there's another law. There's universal law or universal laws. And the tarot can teach you how to align more to those universal laws or understanding energy or the energetics of something, right? And that's why you've got the crown, the lightning comes. So this is the mainstream, something in the mainstream world, mainstream consciousness, whether in the collective or individually in your life, when you get the tarot, is changing. Maybe you built something on this. If I go to this school and I marry and I buy this and I do that and I live here, then I'm going to be successful. Then I'm going to be happy. That would be the law of the land, right? That would be coming from the castle, representing symbolically that which is mundane, right? In mainstream. And so you have these towers that get built that ultimately over time need to be overthrown, because the all that is, the innate intelligence of the all that is, of the world, of the universe, grows and evolves. God grows and evolves. The all that is grows and evolves, and the game changes. The emphasis changes, the focus changes. It changes vibrationally, it changes in the ethers, right, from the spirit realm in the ethers. Then it begins to change on the astral emotional realm, the mental realm, and then the physical realm. So yes, sometimes the tower is something coming out of the blue and in our life that we didn't plan for. But when you always look back, whatever happens, you can see the mental, emotional, spiritual component of it. Or sometimes when you're getting the tower, you have to remember that there's still, the roots, even if they come up, they still are there. The roots are still there. And in the Thoth deck, you've got, I would say this is Pluto, but also Uranus. You've got the eye, the all-seeing eye, the third eye, the psychic. So the soul, psychic comes from the Latin word psyche, which means soul. So you've got this all-seeing eye within you and within the cosmos, the universe, that deems when something needs to shift or change, whether it's externally, internally, mentally, emotionally, or physically, or a combination of all. And so also at the tower, you're kind of, reminded to use your psychic vision, to connect in more with your third eye, to see below the surface or above the surface, see beyond what is happening surfacely in your life. And you can use this energy as a metaphysician, as an esotericist, for creation. When you know that you're getting the Tower, you can ask yourself, okay, what limited thoughts do I have, or actions or activities? Am I limiting myself, or is my environment or those that are around me too constrictive? Again, like similar to the Eight of Swords. You know, what needs to change, or what is changing? Now, sometimes the Tower brings relief. It brings sudden relief. It brings a new direction. It brings a release of energy, hence the lightning rod. It brings a great idea to move forward, to free up. So the Tower is all about freeing up psychic energy, whatever way that it needs to do that. And it's different for each individual, and it'll be different for you on different parts of your path as well. All right, last but not least, we had someone asking about the Temperance card, which is a very multi-layered card. All the cards, especially with the Thoth deck, have to do with alchemy and a blending of numerology, sacred geometry, the tree of life, and the Kabbalah. So Eastern mysticism, Western mysticism, Christian mysticism, like the Gnostics, Freemasonry, Rosicrucian, you know, all these groups that work with energy in form, work with ritual, work with the idea of magic. And I mean, magic is just understanding energy and knowing how to align to it and to use it for benefit. Also, of course, astrology. Also, there's a component to the runes, as well as the Hebrew alphabet. So you've got a lot of layering here. And Temperance card, one of the very important meanings is a tempering. And it has to do with temptation. And so in the metaphysical Bible, it's lead me not into temptation means don't let me have to get tested or to test myself. There's no God out there, you know, saying you did this and so you get that, you know, you get that it's punitive, that you get punished. It's our own self that tests us. Are you ready for the next level? And of course, the quantum aspect of us, or the God aspect, or the universe, responds to where we're at in our soul path, in our soul's growth and unfolding, our soul's expression. So trials, tribulations, testing. This Temperance has to do with tempering. You test to see, is the gold holding up, right? I put the blowtorch to something, I'm making something, is it holding, okay? Is there enough glue? Is there enough pigment in something? Is there enough color in something? Is there, you know, I'm tempering, did I get more of the lead out and now I have more silver? Or is it still a lot of nickel? Or I'm using gold, you know? So it's about getting out the impurities. But impurities are that which is not as much in alignment or resonance or coherence with your soul, with your true nature, with your true path. So those impurities are what doesn't fit anymore or never did fit. So impurities talk about the integrity, the wholeness, you coming from the holism of your, you know, soul as much as possible, the whole aspect of your being. And sometimes we have impurities, things that pull us off or aren't really in alignment with us, aren't in our best interest, aren't most life enhancing. At the Temperance, it can be tests or trials to move through that, to get rid of that energetically, and also by what we do in our life, what we focus on. So you see this balancing. The wings have to do with the spirit realm. This is why sometimes it's called Archangel card, or connecting to the realm of the archangels, or Archangel Metatron, which has to do with creativity, guidance of the higher knowledge, higher self, and creativity. So at this alchemy, this alchemical process, you're definitely getting ready to come out in a new version of you, or a more fuller version of your soul expression. That's why it's also called the art card, okay? Because it's about the aesthetics of how you live. Is it the right blend and balance, right? It's also the card of reconciliation. You're reconciling the opposites at the Temperance card. That's also here, the blending. You see it here. It's hard to see with my Thoth deck. You know, you've got the red here, you've got the white, you've got the like a cauldron, which is called the, you know, in alchemy, the prima materia, right? It's the prime material that we all have, and in alchemy, it's all put in. You know, all parts, all aspects of us are put in. Our gifts, our talents, our wounding, right? And it's mixed together to come out with our own uniqueness. Our quirks, our foibles, our flaws, our gifts, our talents, our the part of us that's superior, the light, the dark. And so it has to be remixed and rebalanced. That's why you have the perfect balance here with the blue of the emotions. There's grounding connected to the emotions, but also grounded in what's life enhancing. And this also symbolizes new growth, you know, or the earth, stability. Yellow has a lot to do with, and you've got the yellow hair, with what is new growth, is what is life enhancing, what is growing, what is the light. And then again, it's yellow or yellow gold. You've got the sacredness of the chalice that you're blending. And a metaphysical principle of, or kind of an occult insight of the Temperance, is that you see what they're blending is the water, which means the emotions. And on a occult level, metaphysically, one would know that the emotions are the carrier wave to everything that we do here. The energy and motion. This is the only planet, the only dimension where we have these emotions, energy and motion, passion, inspiration, inspired action, motivation. So at the Temperance, you understand that and you're harnessing it, the inner masculine, the inner feminine, okay? The understanding that everything comes from the spirit realm. That's why you've got the halo also for the crown chakra and above. Yellow has to do with shining the light, but it also hints to the mental realm, like a learned or wise understanding, something that you've learned metaphysically or from an esotericist or occult point of view, that you're creating something on the mental realm, but what gets it manifested is your inspired action. You have to be inspired. So unless we have something that is so amazing in our life that really is inspiring us and motivational, or a tragedy, those are the two states of being that we manifest from. But when you understand that, you can harness that energy and you don't have to manifest from trauma and tragedy. We manifest in our life what holds the most juice, most vibrational frequency, coherence, and resonance. And you know that at the Temperance. It's a very powerful card. It's Sagittarius, which rules the higher mind, instinct, reason, a higher form of religion out of just the mundane. It's not religion as in conventional religion. It can be, but the higher aspect of it is religion coming from religare. How do you think? Your routine, connecting to spirit, to source. Right? Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter is about some level of expansion and an understanding of what expands the mind, or using the expanded consciousness or expanded aspect of the mind to create, to co-create. But of course, to get to the expanded aspect of our mind and expanded levels of consciousness, we cannot be stuck in the lower levels of duality. We can't be stuck in dualism and play out the extremes of the polarity. We have to unify. That's why Temperance is very much about reconciling the opposites and unifying. It's also the archer, Diana the huntress, okay, in the myth. And you know, she had the bow and arrow. So it's the truth. It's getting to the truth of the matter, truth of the situation, the truth of your life. It's also, yes, the royal marriage conjunctio. So this is why a lot of readers say, oh, it could be, you know, a divine partnership. Well, in the esoteric traditions, the divine conjunctio is the holy grail. It's an understanding of how energy works and using that. And so you have to have the electrical and the magnetic at the right balance for you and be in that right balance in life, which means the inner masculine and feminine is in the right balance. So temperance, as you can hear, has a lot to do also with balance. Are you balanced? It creates the balance so that a new form of you that is more balanced, that is more connected to your spirit and aligned to your soul, can come through. Very powerful card. All of the cards are in their own way. But there is, you can see, and also you've got, it's a 14. So that says that there's a new, and then right after the temperance is the devil, right? You've got 14, which means you're going to have to learn how to deal with form. Whatever happens in temperance, this new balancing, this new alchemical process, this test, now how are you going to manifest it on the earth plane? How are you going to integrate it on the earth plane? How are you going to live it out on the earth plane? Each card is successive to the next. There's a reason for the order. So shifting, balancing, testing. You've got here right on the heart chakra, you've got, orange for vitality and pointing upward. So it's part of the light body, right? It's part of, again, the sacred geometry coming in about manifestation. And you can see the foot with the white, it's for purity, it's for integrity of the spirit and the soul. So you've got this understanding that I need to extend or expand upward. I need to expand into my consciousness or higher consciousness, my divine consciousness, connect with my spirit, align to my soul for my truth to manifest. And I need to burn off or release what doesn't allow that, what doesn't serve that. And that would be the test or testing at the temperance card. Okay, well, I'm about to do other readings, so I wanted to just touch base with you and to answer some of these questions that some of you had. I do a deeper dive in my tarot course, which I have another one that's coming up in May. If that's something you're interested in, you can always email me at michele@soulplayground.life or awakeningspodcast@gmail.com. You can go to my blog, Soul Playground, and just let me know. But I hope this brings some insight and understanding, and also perhaps widens some of the meaning and the definition of these cards and how to apply them in your life, and perhaps what they're meaning for you right now on your life. All right, so just a little dive. I may do a deeper dive later. I definitely do in my course. All right, everyone, let me know in the comments how this resonates with you and how it helps you. And I hope it just widens your perception of the tarot and how you can use the tarot for more of your soul path unfolding and fulfillment. All right, take good care, and I'll see you in the next reading.